key issue when we're evaluating dissertations is the level of analysis. And you'll remember that early on when we talked about what makes a good dissertation, we highlighted this as a key factor. Often at this stage in the process you find students are rushed and they're cobbling chapters together, and what gets left out is analysis. And we can often see this when we read documents, the students who didn't have time to take a step back and think about, am I analysing all my data? Am I rigorously going through my findings? And sometimes people say, well, what do you mean by analysis, and how do I be sure that I'm engaging in enough analysis? It's helpful to think about this in terms of thinking about an onion. So what your findings did was it described what you found through your surveys or your interviews. And that's sufficient for the findings chapter. But when you get into your analysis chapter and your conclusions, you need to start digging a little bit deeper. So you need to start seeing what's behind your findings. So your findings told us that, let's say, tour operators, if you were asking them about social media, they told you what they thought about it. In your analysis now, you need to start digging down and thinking about, well, why did they say this? Was there something that affected their opinion? So that's the sort of thing we'd be looking for in your analysis chapter. And then in terms of the conclusions, you're starting to think, well, what does it matter about what we found? And this is something that's very important in the conclusions chapter, is to make it feel from the reader's point of view, why did I read this dissertation? How did it inform my thinking? If you're just going to describe what the findings were on the outside, you're probably not really informing my thinking. You're not affecting our understanding about the topic. The only way that you're going to do that is when you start digging down into the layers of the subject that you've started to look at. And it is then that there's a purpose to having written a dissertation, in that the findings that you have uncovered, if you like, are having an influence in terms of what we know about the topic or the area. So to engage in this analysis, start asking questions like how, why, what, and digging in underneath the sort of the bald facts, if you like, of what your findings found. And make sure that you're doing this in your analysis chapters and in your conclusion, because it's this that makes a really strong dissertation. Hopefully this helps.